Apply mass holds. What this process will do will allow you to pull a large population of students and apply a hold to their account. The example I'm going to use today is of all applicants, and we're going to apply an AH hold because we're saying we want these applicants to meet with an advisor before they actually can register themselves on SSB. You have to look at the process and determine what you would actually need to use it for. If you need assistance creating a population selection to pull your population, then you should reach out to the specialist within your area. The first step to applying a mass hold is to actually create a hold rule. So you go to TGA HOLD and hit enter. You're going to select X here. And this is the form that allows you to build the rule code. You can select the drop-down arrow next to the rule code if you're not sure what code you want to use and locate one that will work for you. I'm going to actually use the advisor hold one because that's the one I'm going to do. I want to apply an advisor hold. If there is not a hold code here that will work for you or a rule code here that will work for you, you're just going to submit a change management form to your specialist requesting a new rule code. I'm going to double click on the one I want to use, and then I'm going to perform a next block. Once you perform a next block, this is where you're actually going to build your rule. So I want to apply the AH code, which is advisor hold. I'm going to put my reason. Now remember, before you put a reason, please reach out to the business hold processes workbook or the guidelines for that, because there's been specific reasons that you can enter in the reason code. I'm going to say needs to meet with advisor. Then I'm going to put a from date and a to date. The from date is the date I want the hold to become active. So I'm going to go ahead and put today's date, and you can put a period enter, or you can actually enter the date in, or you can use the calendar, and then I'm going to put the date I want it to end. Now, because this is an advisor hold only on my applicants, and if my applicant doesn't start this semester, they would have to come back and submit a new application. I'm going to put this one to end right after the 14th day of my registration period in the next semester. Or if you do multiple registration periods, you want to put it after all registration periods to ensure the student meets with their advisor before they register. So I'm going to use the calendar this time, and I'm going to search for a date that's after my 14th day count. And I'm going to just say it is actually September the 17th. So I double click on the calendar, the date I want to use, and it will automatically populate. Then here I put the origination code. I need to put the code of the department I work within. And I'm going to say I'm in admissions. So, and you're going to have to look for the college code as well. And I'm going to pretend I'm in Nunez admissions. And I'm just going to search for it. Most of you will probably know your code in your college alpha. And theirs is NADM. Once I've entered in the origination code, I'm simply going to hit save. And now my rule code has been created. The next thing I need to do is I need to pull my population. So you're going to X out of TGA hold, and you're going to go into GLB data. Once again, if you need help creating a population selection rule because there's not one already created, you're going to reach out to your specialist to get that assistance. Once you're on GLB data, you're going to perform a next block twice, and then you're going to enter in that population selection you're choosing to use. For this particular example, I'm going to use two population selections together because I'm looking for all my applications for a specific term, but I also want to make sure that I remove anybody who's registered, because you all know sometimes we get applicants from students that are already registered. Not sure why they keep submitting applications. So I'm using two population selections to run this one. If you're not familiar with how to use population selections, go to that video to get a good understanding of how to do that. I'm going to perform a next block. I'm going to save, And because my population selections have some open questions, the questions come up. So I'm going to enter in the term 2016-10, and I want to make sure that they're not already registered for 2016-10. And then I perform a next block and I save. And now GLB data is pulling my population. To ensure that my population is complete before I try to apply the hold, I'm going to go to Options, Review Output, double click next to the file name, and once it's ready, it's going to pop up here. Now, if you get a message saying error process number doesn't exist, that doesn't mean the process didn't work. It means the process is still in the process of pulling together that population. So I just keep double clicking next to the file name until I get my .log file. Then you double click on the .log file if you want to see how many people within your population. So notice I don't have anyone in this population. So that would say I don't need to go on and run TGP hold, but since I'm just doing a training here, I'm going to move to the third step. If you're actually running this for your college and you see you don't have a population, you would stop here and then just run it the next time you would need to run it. Or if you've never run it and it's not pulling a population, reach out to your specialist and make sure your population selection was created correctly. Now, to actually add the hold, we're going to go to TGP hold. So you're going to type in TGP hold and hit enter. You're going to perform a next block twice. You're going to enter in the selection ID that you actually used in GLB data. So I'm going to enter in the one I use. The application code for the population selection you used. The creator, whoever created the population selection, and then your name. Then I would put in the rule code. If you don't remember the rule code, you can just highlight that field and hit the drop-down arrow under Values. And remember, I'm not looking for the hold code, I'm looking for the rule code in which I used to build my hold, which I used ADVISO. And then I'm going to put that I want to apply the hold. Now please note we do not use this process to release holds because it'll release holds across all 13 institutions and not just yours. We're only applying the holds using this process. And then for the run mode, I would put A for audit if I just want to run and see what students would get the hold, or I do U for update. And then I perform a next block and I save. Now remember, I'm not going to have anyone with a hold because I had 0 population. But when you're running it, you should have a population. If not, make sure your population selection is correct. But I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to click Review Output because I want to show you what the .log file or the .list file is going to look like. Once again, when you get in a form that looks like this, you double click next to the file name. And then you can double click on the .list file. Now you're going to notice if you scroll down, it's going to say record count is 0. And that's correct because I had 0 population. But if you had a population, you're expecting that population number to be here. And then you look for the number of holds that have been added. Note, if a student is in your population selection and they already have the hold code you're trying to apply, this process will not apply the hold code again. If the hold code already exists for the student, it will not try to insert it a second time. And this is the process for mass applying holds.